Welcome to the Darkstream, Vox Day, voxday.net, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for tuning in. It has been a big day, a lot of stuff going on, and I think that we now have absolute and compelling proof that President Trump is not only not the short, fat Trump that we see on the news so often, but I think it's also conclusively proven now that Donald Trump is not the individual who is tweeting, putting posts on Truth Social, whatever you want to call it. Whoever is operating his social media is not him, first of all, and it is also not the person who was posting on social media from 2009 through 2021. Now, I realize this is, very conspiratorial and outrageous and all that sort of thing. But if you think about it, it's really not. I mean, the idea that a spokesman or a president or a celebrity or somebody doesn't write their own press releases and doesn't do their own media is hardly unusual. Brad Pitt has people that put out statements for him. Obviously the president of the United States has a whole panoply of people that are there to work for him. He even has an official White House spokesman. But the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump was known to be doing his own tweeting, doing his own social media and that sort of thing. And as with all things that people do, there's a pattern to it. You guys sometimes make fun of the patterns that I have, whether it's on the video, the pauses, whether it's the written tics that I have. We all have certain identifiers. And one of the primary identifiers is how complicated your writing is, how long it takes you to make a point, etc., etc. And so I was just thinking this yesterday. I was thinking, if it's not Trump in the White House, then the chances that he is communicating in the style that Trump is accustomed to communicating is nil. There's no chance. Trump has such a unique communication style that people imitate it to this day. Sad, all the silly names that he comes up with for people. When's the last time that he coined a new silly name? Think about it. When's the last time that he was coming up with a cutesy name for somebody? Do you recall any recently? And there must be a couple, but I can't think of one. Not off the top of my head. And, the thing that really struck me with one of the more recent tweets where he was going on about Putin being a vampire or something like that, which is suspicious in itself, not so much because he didn't give Putin a cutesy nickname, but more because he was projecting language. Putin's the one who originally referred to Clown World as a vampire's ball. So anytime you've got somebody who's trying to reverse an insult rather than come up with a new one, you're often dealing with a gamma or a female personality. And so I was also reading it and I was just thinking that this is such a wall of text. It was just, it was just one post, but it somehow managed to ramble within a single post. And I thought, this is not the master of low rhetoric. And I thought, if he's written this wall of text, he's probably written a bunch. Now remember, I'm not on Truth Social. I got kicked off of Twitter back in 2017. So my exposure to social media is pretty limited. Social Galactic is about all, and the comments on my Substacks are about it for me. So I'm not really aware of any changes that Trump has had. One of the bears was very helpful, one of the bears on Social Galactic, and he went out and found a spreadsheet that had all of the social media posts, the number of them, the number of words in them, and most importantly, the number of characters in them. And so what I did was, he had the spreadsheet, and I looked at it, and it leaped out at me immediately. Now, I'm pretty good at pattern recognition. I'm not as good as say one of the Cool Hunters from William Gibson novels, but I'm pretty good at observing patterns, noticing anomalies, and that sort of thing. It's kind of my thing, right? So this was just incredibly obvious. Let's have a look. The chart below compares the first 43 months of Trump's social media posting to the most recent 43 months of his supposed social media posting. And so the average count, the average character count across the entire 9-year period, including the 6 years prior to Trump becoming a presidential candidate, the average number of characters was 127.42. In the most recent 43 months, which is what we're suspicious of, the average number of characters suddenly jumped to 410.86. And what this comparison here shows is the first 43 months in blue and the most recent 43 months in red. Now, the reason this is necessary is because after he got kicked off of Twitter in 2021, he wasn't posting anywhere for until February of 2022. And what you can see is that first red number is over 400. So what that indicates is that whoever first started posting on social media probably was not Donald Trump. Look at the consistency all the way across those first 43 months. In fact, if you look at the inconsistency of the most recent 43 months, you can probably conclude that there might be two people who have been switching off. It might not seem that much, a difference between 400 and 500, 450 to down all the way to 300. But that's a absolutely significant variance. The average person doesn't vary that much in how they post things. Yes, occasionally you'll do a very short post. Yes, occasionally you'll do a long post. But your average is going to stay roughly the same. And that's why I think if you look at the blue numbers, the first 43 months, you can see that it's very steady. Now, the obvious objection, of course, is that, well, that's because there was a character limit on Twitter. Maybe, but here's the interesting thing, is that even when Twitter increased, there were 38 months that Trump was still on Twitter after they increased the character length from 160 to 280. He still only got to 162. He didn't come anywhere close to the 280. If we were supposed to believe that the 410 average had anything to do with the character lengths permitted, then he should have been up around 280 right away. And of course, that's not very credible anyhow, because he never got close to the 160. When the character limit was 160, his average was 127.4. It was actually, no, that's correct. So it was actually a little bit below that. So if you look at the difference, it's so obvious. Silent Draco says 2 different media people or teams. Yes, but I would argue that, remember, I don't think that any of this is necessary. I think it's incredibly obvious that whoever was involved in posting from 2009 to 2021 is not involved. You don't have the same wit. You don't have the same rhetorical mastery. You don't have the same brevity. You don't have the neologisms. I mean, it's not the same person writing. This is very, very clear, you know. And I point out, I'm a professional editor. I'm not just a writer. I'm also a professional editor. I can tell the difference between Tanith Lee and Neil Gaiman imitating Tanith Lee. I can tell the difference between 2 fairly similar writers and identify them very rapidly. You know, it's really easy for me to tell the difference between, say, Chuck Dixon and Larry Correia, even though they're both writing Delta fiction. And you know, they're both writing Delta manly action fiction. But it's really pretty obvious. And so I think that, you know, this is just one more piece of evidence that what we see and what the media portrays is not, in fact, accurate. This is hardly news, but I just thought that it was an interesting piece of statistical evidence supporting what we've already observed and concluded. So anyhow, that's my big observation for today. Another thing, obviously, is we've now made the Odyssey and the Iliad available. Actually, we should go back here. Let's see. I'll try turning the, let's see, can we go back? I don't know if we can go back. I never know what we can click on when we're here. Okay, let's go to Castalia Library. And for some reason that went over the chat, not to here. Can we go here? What if I just click on that? Nope, that's not working. It's getting rid of my chat and doing it in the other window. Maybe if I turn this off and turn it back on again. No, that does not work. Okay, I have no idea how to go back here, so we'll just have to not do that. C'est la vie. Anyhow, the big news is that if you missed your opportunity to back the Bindery 4 years ago, you've got 2 weeks that you can do that. The Odyssey and the Iliad are both available in Libraria and in library formats, and they're very expensive, you know, because the whole reason we're doing them, of course, is to raise money for the Bindery. The next thing that we need at the Bindery is a specific case making machine. The good news is I talked to the owner of the company that manufactures them, and not only do they cost less than we had assumed, but it looks like they've got a used one that they're fixing up, and we've got first dibs on that. So the significance of that is that it will increase the amount of cases that we can produce in a day. Cases are the leather covers. It'll increase the number of cases that we can do by a factor of more than 10. And so that's what we need to get in order to rapidly to catch up with our backlog and start, you know, getting ahead of the game. And but we're going to do that. We're going to figure out a way to do that. And obviously, any help that the subscribers can do by purchasing, or even if you're not a subscriber, by purchasing the Odyssey and the Iliad is going to help us do that. So, you guys have been absolutely phenomenal in making the Bindery happen. It's really interesting to talk to these manufacturers, and they're just amazed. They're like, wait, where did this come from? Because binderies all over the world are shutting down, and they're amazed that we're not only doing fine, but that we're growing. And so it's been really fascinating to get their perspective. I did, by the way, find out how and why it was that we got kind of screwed over by the one manufacturer when we bought the 2 old machines that didn't end up working, even though we hired a tech from the company to come down. He spent 2 weeks not getting them working and then charged us for it. I mean, it was absolutely appalling. But I learned yesterday that they were filing for bankruptcy around that time in Germany. And so, and then they got acquired by some, financial investment company in January. So it wasn't right. They shouldn't have done it. But clearly everybody at the company was in the ship's going down, who gives a damn, grab what you can mode. I don't condone it and I don't accept it, but I understand it. And I hope that nobody on our team would ever do that. But this is a company that's been around for 150 years or something. So I'm sure that they were all in a bit of a state of shock. So frankly, I was astounded when I found out that they'd filed for bankruptcy. I mean, it's actually kind of tragic when you think about it. But then again, if those are your business ethics, then it's not surprising that people don't want to keep working with you. The other crazy thing is I talked to another German company and was potentially interested in one of their machines. And then I found out that they're manufactured in China. Well, why would we want to buy a German machine manufactured in China when we can buy a Chinese machine for less money that is probably exactly the same design and is built in the same factory as the German machine? I mean, this is something that happens in low trust societies. Apple, the reason that Apple has those, horrific live-in factories that they have to put nets around to keep people from doing themselves in. One of the reasons is because they're keeping a tight grip on it so that some enterprising factory manager doesn't just build fake iPhones. Run a third shift making fake iPhones that they can sell as the e-phone. The cost of losing your high trust society is just absolutely devastating, because it really, really reduces your ability to do anything. You can't do any work and be sure that you're going to get paid for it. You can't be sure that somebody's not going to mess around and not do what they say, et cetera, et cetera. So anyhow, that's been interesting to talk to these different companies and find out more about how they're working and how the globalization has infected some of these long, old, honorable European companies with the low trust values of the places that they're working with now. So anyhow, that's about all I've got to actively discuss. I do have I do have a new track to play because apparently I am constitutionally incapable of reading a William Gibson novel without coming up with an idea for a track. Wow, we have a super chat. Sledge with an Edge sends $5 and says, going back to the Trump doubles, why does real Trump allow short fake Trump so much free reign? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, there's a lot of theories about this. You know, the operative theory, the one that I've seen most often put forth, is that the real Trump is with the military, and they are working behind the scenes to try to stage manage the inevitable collapse. You know, there's some serious economic problems. I mean, that's why these old stalwart corporations are collapsing. And so, you know, apparently there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes and so forth. You know, if you look at the kabuki that took place with regards to the very brief war between Israel and Iran and the USA, it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff taking place that we aren't privy to. So, Sapien Avenger says, the roof Trump and golf course Trump are trying to draw the fire. Well, I mean, that might be part of it too. I mean, if you think about it, what has Trump actually accomplished? What has he actually done? I mean, made some silly threats to Russia, you know, orchestrated the kabuki with Iran. I mean, none of those things. It's pretty clear that he's not in charge. Q1882 says, I hope you decide to number them. I think it would add historical and actual value. Yeah, to be honest, I have. We haven't officially stated that, but I've already made that decision. In fact, you know, I was always a little leery about putting these handwritten numbers in, but I kind of changed my mind when I got this one. You know, this is the bibliography of military books. All you subscribers are going to get a new updated version of these. I actually bought 2 of them. And what's interesting is that I found 2 of them. Only 200, it says right here, you can see on the one page, only 250 were printed. This copy is number 167. And so I believe the one that the one that we scanned is either number 33 or number 133. I don't remember which. But when I realized how much I liked having this, only so-and-so copies were printed, this copy is number 1. When I realized how much I like that, you know, I mean, this book is 125 years old. It was printed in 1900. I decided, you know, we should do that. And so I think that we're going to start doing that. We'll begin it with the Odyssey and the Iliad. And what I think that we'll probably also do is have our bookbinder sign it. You know, he's, you know, some people have said, oh, you should sign it. But, you know, I'm not the bookbinder. You don't, when you have a bound book, what you want is you want the record of the bookbinder. You know, you don't want the record of the guy who runs the office, you know. Castelia Library as a whole is going to be my legacy, and I can definitely live with that. So I think that it's fair to, you know, give the bookbinder his moment of public recognition for what he's doing and for his work. Because at the end of the day, it's all down to him. You know, we can put all this stuff together, but he's the one who actually is putting the books together. That purple leather was aileron. And that is, I can show you that. Let's go here and we'll look it up. So, aileron is John's comic. It's an omnibus. I think it's 150 pages or so. And if I can remember where I put it, yes. Let's see. Yeah, so this is aileron, and it's got the dyed edges, and the design is obviously very different than anything that we normally do because John's artist did it. We just consulted with them a little bit to make sure that the design got done. But it's got a nice silhouette of aileron on the cover. And the spine is stamped nicely. And then actually on the back, it's not necessarily showing there, but I think I've got an image here that you can see. No, I guess I don't. Well, maybe I do. Oh, that's the other one. Well, it's got an Archaven. This is the, so you can see the spine, but so you can see the spine is neatly stamped right down the middle. We're always being very careful about that. I honestly think our stampings are better than Bindex. I think it's partly because of the care with which our bookbinder takes, and I also think it could be that the brass stamps that we have made are a little better. It can't be the designs because we do the designs in both cases, but it also could be our press. We've got a really great old press that's like 75 years old, and it's just a beast. 50 tons of pressure. But this is, I think, the one that we're all excited about. In fact, I was super stoked when I saw it today. This was actually today's work, just to be clear. Not the entirety of it, but an important part of it. And I did not put it there. Okay, where is it? Okay. Well, I guess I did not save it. So, but you can see it on, actually I know how we can find it. If I add a source, and it is a web page, and we go to castelialibrary.substack.com. There we go. We'll go down here. Okay. And here's a post about the Iliad. Actually, I should have brought this up before. So this is the title page. And you'll notice one difference in the usual ones. It actually talks about Castelia Bindery, since these are special Bindery books. And this is the Odyssey of Homer. Every chapter has chapter heading art. You'll notice that they don't match properly, but they don't have to, because this is just to show the art off. You wouldn't ever have the beginning of chapter 6 and the beginning of chapter 7 in the same place. Those are the Sea of Skulls books showing up at the warehouse. And this is what I wanted to show you. These are the finished Cambridge Byzantium Volume 1. So, we're getting more and more of them together. And, hey baby, how are you? So, the princess just graced us with her presence. You okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get her to sit down here on the chair so she can. There we go. She's lobbying me to go to bed. So, anyhow, Sapien Avenger says, I love the idea of leather-bound graphic novels and comic book compilations. Yeah, we're going to have a bunch of them. CCP, when was the last time you think you saw real Trump? Thank you for the super chat. 2 super chats tonight. Wow, we're rolling. Do you think he might be dead? I don't believe so, because I think that Clown World would be a lot more triumphalist and a lot less desperate if he were. I just really don't believe so. It's possible. You know, that would be one explanation, obviously, but I don't think that I don't think there's any reason to believe that, other than the fact that, you know, we're mostly seeing the short fat one. We do seem to occasionally see him pop up. I don't know how they coordinate, but they do obviously coordinate so that they're not both appearing in 2 different places at exactly the same time. But yeah, if he was dead, then I think we'd be seeing a lot more aggressive actions out of the U.S. faction of Clown World. But they're not. So they're clearly, you know, poking and making little provocations and doing all kinds of stupid little things, but they're not taking any big risks. Presumably because Trump could explode the illusion anytime he wants to. So anyhow, so that's all I've got for tonight as far as discussion matter. If you haven't backed the Bindery yet, I'd encourage you to see about picking up a copy of either the Iliad or the Odyssey, or even the set. And let's go check out my newest track. This one, I'm not sure what I'm calling it yet, but it's probably going to be called something like Broken Spaces or something in that vein. And it's not about the entirety of Idoru, the first of the Sprawl novels. It's just about the part where the character Laney is paying attention to this celebrity. It's his job. He's got to, you know, pay attention to everything he does and everything she does. And he has the ability to recognize patterns, and something in her behavior correctly leads him to conclude that she is intending to do herself in. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting concept for a song. So I thought I would go ahead and have a whack at it. And I think it turned out pretty well, although I have to admit, I think I need to be cautious about structuring too many songs in too similar a fashion. But I'll leave that up for you guys to determine. So this is Breaking Spaces. That was what I was calling it, Breaking Spaces. So check it out and let me know what you think.
I can see the way your footsteps trace an ever-shrinking geometry. Coffee's bought but never finished, calls that you don't take. Every action tells a story that you'd never dare to speak. The info streams are shouting what your daily silence keeps. message that I knew you'd never see, ignored as if another blind and futile devotee. The gift of sight becomes a curse when one can't intervene, watching futures blooming red through probability, and the present and the future slip away from you and me.
So that was what, after some debate with the chat, we're probably going to end up calling Broken Idol. And it definitely needs to be fixed. And not a single mention of Cassandra. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that would, she's overused. Yeah, I was kind of curious. I was assuming that was what you meant, but yeah, personally, I think it turned. I like that Silent Draco observed that the lyrics are kind of haunting, and they really are. The song needs to be fixed. It's way too long. I actually cut down the beginning and the ending, and it's still like 6 minutes long or something. One thing that the new 4.5 plus Suno does not do is give you much control over the time. I noticed that 11 Labs has a new music interface, and one of the first things they have, probably because everybody complains about it, is there's a time limit. Like, there's a time limit right on the thing, and you can set it to, you want 1 minute, you want 2 minutes, you want 3 minutes, and that's really useful. I wasn't crazy about the 11 Labs music. It sounded decent. It was much better than the first Suno was, and the voices are very good, as you'd expect. But the controls and the music generated, and I didn't see any way to like actually create your own lyrics and that sort of thing. Terrence says, "I like it. Can we get the long cut when you post it?" Hey, look. For unauthorized is supposed to be for my experiments, right? I'll master them. I'll auto master them. I won't get them professionally mastered, but if you want, I'll just put the whole shebang up there. I have to remaster it because I cut it down a bit first, but yeah, I can definitely put it up. I don't see any reason not to. I mean, the whole thing that we're trying to do is get more people to subscribe to unauthorized, and if having access to pre-release, unreleased tracks is something that appeals to even a small number of people, why not? I mean, Taryn, you've supported the Soul Sigma project. You were one of the first ones to resubscribe to Unauthorized. So, and you even figured out the super chats. So, quite happy to accommodate you guys in that way. Interestingly enough, I think my one of my former bandmates might be setting up a channel soon. He's a little bit too worried about well, what if there's not enough content and stuff? I'm like, dude, relax. He's got, he's one of those perfectionists. So it'll take him a little while to get around to the idea of, not everything has to be perfect to get posted, but anyhow, but thanks very much. I'm glad that you enjoyed the new tune. I think we're going to have to end up, I didn't mean to, I was planning to do a Byronics album, which I have 8 of the 10 songs already done for, but maybe we'll have to do the William Gibson inspired album first, or very soon after, whatever. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, we don't need to do the whole, you can only come out with an album once a year or whatever, because nobody's paying attention anyhow, right? Prince used to record stuff like crazy all the time, and his record company was the one that didn't want to put stuff out all that often. But we don't have that problem, and I'm all about the end product. If it's good, it's good. If you like it, you like it. So why not go for it, But anyhow, that's just my thinking at the moment. So in any event, have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in. And also just not that it'll affect most of you, but the unauthorized paywall will be going up on August 15th. So encourage everybody to go ahead and get their subscriptions in and get on the new payment system, and we will keep rolling on. So also on Friday, we didn't do Big Bear and Dark Lord on Monday, so we're probably going to do it on Friday. So I'll keep you posted. But tomorrow's Arcaven Nights with JDA himself, so we will see you then. I'm Vox Day. This is the Darkstream.